Over the majority of these hands-on lessons, I've been introducing you to various properties one at a time. And what's interesting is to see how these properties play out, how things sort of play out in the results we get inside the browser. But I think in this exercise and in the upcoming exercises, we're really going to see how we can start using this stuff in our own projects. Much more practical, I think, is what I'm trying to say. Examples, real-world examples of where you might use some of this stuff, okay? So this exercise is going to be a bit of a setup. This is the setup for the next few exercises, and if you stick with me, I think you're really going to enjoy this. Over the next 3 lessons, we're going to be taking a look at 3 properties that will control how child elements will flex and resize, or more specifically, expand and contract within the parent flex container. These 3 properties that we're going to be taking a look at are going to be flex grow, flex shrink, and the third one is called flex basis. We're going to be taking a look at flex basis in this exercise. These 3 properties tell the browser how large child flex items should be and how they should be sized and scaled in comparison to other child flex items. And this also controls how child flex items will respond, and this is really the key here, respond if and when the parent flex container scales and resizes, say in the case of the layout being displayed on a smaller screen size versus a larger screen size. You can kind of read between the lines and see where I'm headed with all this. It's all about responsive design here, right? So, ideally, how wide should my child elements be? That's the question that I want to ask myself and you as we get started in this first of the handful of exercises here. This is like traditional web design. Asking this, how wide should my child elements be, is very much like traditional web design using floats. I want, for instance, a 3-column layout, maybe, where each column is 300 pixels wide. However, as we know from our experience building float-based layouts, if the browser window is going to scale too small, then our floating layout will break. It'll break onto new lines. Well, I want to show you how you can now control this using, of course, Flexbox. All right, now what I have not done here is I went and set myself up here inside my code, but I neglected to refresh my browser. So this is where I'm sitting at this stage of the game here. So if you want to make sure you're at the same spot, just take a quick look at your code and compare it to my code here. I don't have any order properties set on any of my child elements. This is what I have set here for my parent ID selector, okay? Now, what I'm going to do to explain exactly how we can control this expanding and contracting, this flexing or responsive layout using Flexbox, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to comment out, or you could even delete, all but the first 3 child elements inside my HTML. So maybe what I'll do, so I don't completely destroy my code, is I'll just comment them out like so. So this is going from child element number 4 down to child element number 9. Okay, this is in the HTML, of course. Okay. Now, if I go and save and refresh, all but the remaining 3 should be left. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. We want to keep it simple here as I start to explain this. Now, on the child elements themselves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the width to 300 pixels like so. We'll leave the height at 100. And as far as the parent ID selector goes, I want to make sure that flex flow is set to row and no wrap. We don't want any wrapping here, okay? And again, if you want to save and refresh, that's perfectly fine. What we wind up with now, of course, is the same 3 child elements. Now they're 300 pixels wide each, which is great. They're all grouped over at the parent container starting point with lots and lots of extra space remaining inside the parent container. Now, if the browser window scales down just a little bit, if I grab the edge of my browser window here, and if I start to scale this guy, nothing's going to happen, of course, to the 3 child elements unless the browser window scales smaller than the width of the browser elements. Now we're getting this flexing behavior, which we've seen already. Now, what I want to do here inside my code is, instead of setting the width of the child elements using width 300, we'll set the width using the Flexbasis Flexbox property. And again, that's what this exercise is all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the width of 300 pixels here on the child elements, or child class rules, really, I should say. Sorry about that. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to child item number 1. This is my class rule for the first child item. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in flex-basis, like so, full colon space. And then I'll type in 300 pixels, like this. And what we'll do is we'll repeat this for the other 2 child items that we have currently inside of our layout, just like this. Okay? So setting Flexbasis for all 3 visible child flex items. Okay? Now, if I save my code and head back to the browser and refresh, it's kind of a letdown. Nothing's really changed. However, what we have done is we've established a flexible layout starting point. This is hopefully where this lesson really starts to come together for you. You may have been sitting there going, what are we doing here? Why are we doing it? We've established a flexible starting point for our flexible layout. It may not look like much right now, but what we've done here is we have established a foundation, again, that's going to play out in the next few exercises. Now, as far as Flexbasis is concerned, if you're jotting notes, here's what I want you to jot down. I want you to think of Flexbasis as a base size or a starting point for your flexible layout. Think of Flexbasis as your layout's ideal size. Okay, and in my simple down and dirty example, my ideal size is a 300 pixel 3-column layout, like so. Let me say that again. A 3-column layout where each column is 300 pixels in width. That's really what I'm saying here. Now, what happens to our layout when the browser window either provides plenty of extra room in our layout, which we're seeing here inside the browser, or what happens when there isn't enough room to accommodate our layout? This is where the other 2 Flexbox properties, Flex Grow and Flex Shrink, come in. So let's go and check them out, and I think once you see them, everything will come together for you.